Before I tell you how my daughter-in-law almost stole my life, let me ask you something. Have you ever had family smile on your face while quietly digging your grave? If that hits home, buckle up. My name's Gerald. I'm 71 years old, retired forensic accountant. And for 3 months straight, my daughter-in-law broke into my apartment 36 times. She called it checking in. I called it a felony. It started small. A drawer slightly open. My mail stacked wrong. My pill bottle turned the opposite direction. Now listen, when you've spent 40 years tracking down embezzlers and corporate frauds, you don't ignore patterns. Patterns are everything. And Megan? She was a walking red flag wrapped in vanilla perfume. One Tuesday morning, I came home at exactly 11:15 a.m. Door unlocked. Again. I didn't yell. Didn't panic. Didn't announce myself. See, amateurs interrupt crimes. Professionals collect evidence. I closed the door quietly and listened. Floorboards creaked near my bedroom. I moved slow, calm, controlled. Through the cracked door, I saw her, bent over my nightstand, digging through my drawer like she owned the place. She pulled out my heart medication, shook the bottle next to her ear like it was a maraca, counting pills, checking supply, like she was measuring how long I had left. That's when I spoke. Looking for a hidden fortune? Or just checking if I finally kicked the bucket? She didn't even flinch, just turned around with that tight little smile. "Oh, Gerald," she said, sweet as syrup. "You scared me. I'm just making sure you're okay. You've been forgetful." Forgetful. That word again. I looked at the mattress corner she'd lifted, the coat pockets she'd checked. "That's a real interesting medical technique," I said. "Checking under mattresses for dementia." She laughed. "Sharp. Fake. Brandon says you've been confused lately. I worry about you. Living alone at your age? It's not safe." There it was. The narrative. Not concern. A setup. That evening I called my son. Brandon showed up smelling like drive-through fries and stress. Wouldn't look me in the eye. I put my notebook on the table. Dates. Times. Details. 36 entries. "Read it," I said. He flipped pages without actually reading, then sighed like I was exhausting him. "Dad, Megan's just trying to help. She says you left the stove on last week. Says you called her mom." That hit harder than it should have. I never called her Catherine. Not once. "I balanced my checkbook down to the penny," I told him. "I still beat you at crossword puzzles. You really think I don't know what's happening in my own apartment?" Brandon rubbed his forehead. "You're 71. You live in a dusty, rent-controlled place. You don't have much, Dad. We're just trying to figure out what to do before something happens." Before something happens. Translation? Before they declare me incompetent. Before they take power of attorney. Before they control whatever they think I've got. That's when I understood. They weren't worried about me. They were building a case. The next morning, I noticed something tiny. A blue folder on my desk. Half an inch out of alignment. Half an inch. That's all it took. I opened the cedar box on my shelf. Empty. My wife Catherine's pocket watch was gone. It wasn't worth money, but it was worth everything to me. And that's when something inside me went cold. Not angry. Cold. Calculated. I texted Megan. "Return the watch. Now." 3 minutes later. "What watch? You're spiraling again. Maybe you threw it out like your mail." Spiraling. She was trying to make me doubt myself. Gaslighting 101. Here's what she didn't know. After the 5th break-in, I installed a hidden camera. Motion activated. Night vision. Silent. I never checked it. Until now. I pulled up the footage. 3:14 a.m. There she was, dressed in black like she was in some low-budget spy movie. She took the watch. But that wasn't the real crime. She laid out my bank statements. Photographed every page. My social security card. My driver's license. Even the deed to my burial plot beside Catherine. She wasn't just snooping. She was building a file. An identity profile. The second I was declared mentally unfit, she'd have everything she needed. Bank access. Property transfers. Control. That's when the old Gerald came back. The one corporations feared. The one that buried executives under paperwork. I backed up the footage in 3 different places. Because evidence wins wars. Next morning, I put on my charcoal suit. Haven't worn it in 5 years. Tied a perfect Windsor knot. Looked in the mirror. The confused old man was gone. The auditor was back. I drove downtown. Walked into a high-rise law office like I never left. Beatrice Kowalski. Sharpest attorney I ever worked with. She watched the footage without blinking. When Megan started photographing my documents, Beatrice paused the video. "That's identity theft," she said flatly. and elder financial exploitation. She offered restraining orders, civil lawsuits. I shook my head. No, I don't want a warning. I leaned forward. I want consequences. She studied me. What are you thinking? I smiled. You remember that holding company you set up for me 15 years ago? Her eyebrow lifted. You mean the one that owns your building? Exactly. Megan thinks I'm just a tenant. She has no idea I own the entire block. Here's the plan. I move out quietly. Leave the apartment staged exactly the same, but legally redesignate Unit 4B as a private document storage facility for my company. File the paperwork. Notify local authorities that sensitive corporate records are stored there. Post internal restricted access notices. So if she breaks in again, it's no longer checking on Grandpa. It's commercial burglary. Felony level. Beatrice stared at me for a long moment. Then she smiled. You're not playing defense anymore. Nope, I said. I'm setting bait. 3 nights later. 2:02 a.m. My phone buzzed. Silent alarm triggered. Live camera feed opened. There she was. Gloves on. Small drill in hand. She went straight to the safe I'd placed in the living room. The one rumors said held cash. She drilled it open. Inside, marked bills, GPS trackers, and clearly labeled corporate financial documents. The moment she touched them, authorities were notified automatically. I watched from upstairs as police lights flooded the street. Watched her face shift from confident to confused to terrified. But then something hit harder than anything else. A second car pulled up. Brandon stepped out. He'd driven her. He stood there when they cuffed her. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about greed. It was about loyalty. And my son had picked a side. When the police lights hit that building, I didn't feel victory. I felt something colder. Finality. From the upstairs penthouse window, I watched officers escort Megan out in handcuffs. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She was furious. Like someone had cheated her in a game she thought she had already won. Then I saw Brandon, standing on the sidewalk, frozen, pale, watching his wife being placed in the back of a squad car. He looked up. For a second, our eyes met. And in that moment, he realized something. I wasn't confused. I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't senile. I had been 10 steps ahead the whole time. The charges. By sunrise, the narrative had changed. No more concerned daughter-in-law. No more forgetful old man. Now it was felony burglary, identity theft, attempted financial exploitation, criminal trespass on commercial property. Because once that unit was legally designated as a corporate document storage facility, everything shifted. Intent mattered. And drilling open a safe inside a restricted commercial unit? That's not caregiving. That's prosecution. Beatrice moved fast. Restraining order filed before noon. Asset protection flags placed on every account I owned. Credit freeze activated. Power of attorney blocked permanently. Unless court approved with independent medical review. Megan thought she was building a file on me. What she didn't realize, I'd built a fortress. Brandon's visit. 2 days later, Brandon came upstairs. Penthouse this time. He didn't know I lived there now. When he walked in and saw the view, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, he just stared. You own this? He asked quietly. I own the building, I corrected. He sat down slowly. Like the ground wasn't steady anymore. You set her up. I didn't raise my voice. No. I gave her opportunities to stop. Silence. You could have just talked to us, he said. I let that hang in the air. I did, I replied. 36 times. His jaw tightened. She thought you were losing it. No, I said. She hoped I was. That hit him harder than yelling ever could. He rubbed his face with both hands. They're talking prison time. I nodded. That tends to happen when you commit felonies. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. Not as a burden. Not as a problem to manage. As a man. As his father. Why didn't you just sue her? Because lawsuits are arguments. Felonies are consequences. The courtroom. Courtrooms don't feel dramatic in real life. They feel small. Cold. Clinical. Megan wore gray. No vanilla perfume. No confidence. Just tight lips and controlled breathing. Her attorney tried everything. Implied consent. Concern for my mental health. Misunderstanding. Then the prosecution played the footage. 3:14 a.m. Black clothing. Gloves. Drill. Safe. Photographs of my social security card. My burial plot deed. My private financial statements. Intent doesn't argue well against video. When the prosecutor paused on the frame of her smiling at my wife's pocket watch, the courtroom went quiet. That smile destroyed her defense. You can't fake concern with that expression on screen. The twist. Then came the part no one expected. The prosecution called Brandon. He hadn't known they would. He walked to the stand like a man heading into a storm. Did you believe your father was mentally incompetent? The prosecutor asked. He hesitated. Yes. And what evidence did you personally see? Silence. He swallowed. None. Did your wife encourage the idea that your father was experiencing cognitive decline? Another pause. Yes. Did you accompany your wife to the building on the night of the burglary? Yes. Did you know she intended to drill into a safe? Long silence. Then quietly. I suspected. That word changed everything. Not innocence. Not ignorance. Suspicion. That put him dangerously close to conspiracy. I watched him from the defense table. My son. The boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street. Now sitting under oath, realizing loyalty has a cost. The offer. Before sentencing, the prosecutor approached Beatrice. There was an offer. If I supported a reduced sentence, no prison, only probation and restitution, the court would consider it. Beatrice asked me privately, "This is your call." I thought about the last few months. The gaslighting, the stolen watch, the humiliation, the plan to institutionalize me. Then I thought about Brandon, not the man sitting in court, the kid who used to fall asleep on my chest watching cartoons. I asked one question. If she serves time, what happens to him? Beatrice didn't sugarcoat it. He goes down financially, maybe legally. Their marriage probably collapses. And if she doesn't, she'll have a record. Strict probation. Financial monitoring. No access to you. Ever. I looked through the courtroom window. Megan looked smaller now. Not powerful. Not clever. Just desperate. And desperate people make predictable mistakes. The decision. When the judge asked if I wished to make a statement, I stood. My name is Gerald Ollie, I said. I am not senile. I am not confused. And I am not a victim. The room was silent. For 3 months, I was manipulated, monitored, and prepared for financial erasure by someone who believed age equals weakness. I paused. I forgive ignorance. I do not forgive exploitation. Megan's eyes flickered. I support accountability, but I do not seek revenge. Even Brandon looked shocked. I continued. I request full restitution, permanent restraining order, and supervised probation. Gasps behind me. No prison, but no escape either. Probation meant constant oversight, financial audits, travel restrictions, community service, public record, a permanent mark. Sometimes freedom with consequences weighs heavier than a cell. The judge agreed. Gavel struck. Case closed. Aftermath. Megan moved out within a month. Probation conditions were strict. She couldn't touch a financial account without approval. Couldn't approach me within 500 feet. Couldn't apply for credit without disclosure. The woman who tried to control my assets now had her own life monitored line by line. Irony tastes better than revenge. Brandon filed for separation 6 months later. Not because of me. Because trust cracked under pressure. He started therapy. Actually started listening. One evening, he came upstairs again. No anger. No defensiveness. Just honesty. I was afraid, he admitted. It was easier to believe you were declining than to believe she was manipulating me. That's the thing about weakness. It rarely looks like cruelty. It looks like avoidance. I can forgive fear, I told him. But not denial. We didn't hug. Not yet. But something shifted. And sometimes that's enough. 3 weeks after sentencing, a small package arrived. No return address. Inside was Catherine's pocket watch. Polished. Repaired. Ticking again. No note. Just the watch. I held it in my palm for a long time. Maybe guilt. Maybe defiance. Maybe closure. I placed it back in the cedar box. But this time, there were no cameras. No traps. Just peace. Here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. Family can underestimate you faster than strangers. They see age and assume decline. They see quiet and assume weakness. They see patience and assume ignorance. But patience is not weakness. It's strategy. And silence. Silence is observation. Megan thought I was protecting a meager pension. She had no idea I was protecting something bigger. Dignity. Independence. Identity. You don't have to destroy someone to defend yourself. You just have to make sure the truth is documented. Paper trails bury lies every time. Tonight, I'm sitting in the penthouse. City lights glowing. Catherine's watch ticking beside me. Brandon texted earlier. Dinner next week? No mention of the past. No mention of court. Just dinner. Maybe that's how rebuilding starts. Not with grand apologies. With small steps. I didn't destroy their lives. They almost destroyed their own. I just turned on the lights. And sometimes, that's enough.